Life flashing before their eyes, Arrow and Rael fell closer to their fiery end. With not a moment to spare, Till flew past the helpless mangle of falling bodies, winking at Arrow as he did. Flipping through debris with acrobatic precision, Till landed at the perfect spot to tackle the mass of bodies into the fire-free gangway, which was now parallel to the ground. "Is everyone okay?" Till sarcastically asked. Major Lessie remained frozen, still manning the captain's chair he no longer sat in. Arrow was on his hands and knees, hyperventilating. Rael, however, laid face down, hiding in shame. "Come on, get up," Till said. "We have to keep moving." Presenting the screen on his AAD, Arrow and Rael could see the drone's damage assessment was complete. Everyone on board had been rescued, but the ship's integrity was failing. Ignoring their pains, Arrow and Rael stood. As the collapsing sections of the cruiser fully settled, orange-yellow light poured through the damaged sections of the gangway. Bewildered, Arrow stepped towards the beams of light, flooding through the three oversized gashes. He could see the smears of dark purple blood and bits of lighter purple flesh left behind. After inspecting the oddly colored carnage, he peeked through the ripped metal, examining what remained of the cruiser. "Everything is on fire or melting," Arrow said, "and there are claw marks all the way through the ship, like it broke its way in. There's still a claw embedded in what looks like the power core." Till and Rael peeked through the remaining two gashes. As they witnessed the nearly decapitated cruiser, Arrow could see Rael was horrified by the sight. "It's like I told you," Till said. "In the last war, the Shadow had hordes of powerful monsters under their control. It would seem they've found a way to produce something even worse. Get him up. It's time to get out of here. We've done all we can." "How are we supposed to climb down with this guy? He weighs a ton," Arrow complained. "I don't think I can climb down with him either," Rael added. "Use your heads," Till said, a slight grin appearing on his face. "When we get to the climbing part, we just drop him. His suit'll take care of the rest." Arriving at the end of the horizontal gangway, they dropped the unconscious load before descending the final stretch. Picking up Major Lessie, they came running out of the wreckage just as the rest of the cruiser caved under its own weight. Reaching the first aid tent, Till opened the entrance flap, greeting them to the reality of the Shadow's chaos. They could see Nurse Kisa towards the back, tending to those in critical condition. The moans and screams of the tortured souls scattered across the multicolored blood-stained cots made Arrow feel as if his heart was going to leap from his chest. Meanwhile, Ava came stomping in from a side entrance, shouting orders at several townspeople. "Make sure those three get more blood and these two have their bandages checked again on arrival," she ordered, moving to help Kisa finish wrapping a burn victim in stem cloth. The way Ava floated from patient to patient with unyielding focus revealed her belonging to such situations. For a day Arrow would never forget, this moment alienated itself as he would truly see the unrelenting force of Ava's abilities. Arrow assumed that given the circumstances, she would have been on the verge of freaking out. He was intrigued at the sight of the opposite, left wondering if perhaps this wasn't the first time she had been through something like this. How was she used to this level of carnage? "Ava, we have a situation," Arrow cried as they dropped the unconscious Major onto an empty cot, which instantly collapsed under his weight. Sparing a moment, Ava marched over, sighing upon approach. "He's fine, you just have to switch off the crash protocol," Ava said, grabbing Liaison Till's hand and placing it directly onto the unconscious Major's faceplate. "This only works if the individual is unconscious and the handprint is recognized by the GA database," she added while checking the Major's vitals through his suit, which had untensed. Arrow and Rael shot angered glares at the Liaison for not knowing about that feature. "You got a lot going on here," Arrow stated, leaning in closer to Ava, who was finishing her tests. "You can say that again. This guy seems fine," Ava replied, gracefully returning to more pressing work. Arrow didn't need an explanation to start helping. The system was simple. Tend to those not stable enough to transport. If someone became stable, transport them to the refugee center, where Grant had set up as many cots as he could fit. No one took rest until those in need were stabilized, every fire extinguished, and the town no longer in danger. Helping as best they could, Arrow and Rael dabbed the wounds and exchanged the bandages of whoever needed them. After shipping out the last group of stable survivors, Arrow returned to the tent, entering just in time to see Ava close the eyes of an unfortunate soul. Arrow had never seen this side of war. The rawness of it all and the reliance on instinct as well as blind luck. Shaken by the truth of battle, Arrow shuffled his way back to the refugee center, not saying a word. Laying down in the open cot next to Rael, Arrow watched as Ava continued to work, changing the bandages of a nearby cadet. It took a while, but Arrow finally managed to close his eyes. Several hours later, Arrow woke, unable to sleep with so much work still to be done. Sitting up, he noticed two strange things. The first being the smell of a delicious meal. The second was the sound of an enthusiastic headmaster dancing around as he prepared said delicious meal. Arrow sat on his cot, taking in the sight. Am I still dreaming, or did the headmaster just twirl himself through the air? Ava yawned from the next cot over. Before anyone could respond, Headmaster Grant began his version of singing. Come on, everyone. It's time to eat. There is still work to be done, he sang over and over. Dragging themselves to their usual seats, Rael joined Arrow and Ava. Silently reflecting on last night's events, Arrow could only wonder if his friends were thinking about the same things. Looking up, Rael seemed to be unfazed, but Arrow could now see a vastly different look stuck on Ava's face. Dealing with patients, especially those who didn't make it, clearly haunted her. What happened? What caused all this? Ava quietly asked, breaking her silence. Something extremely large and powerful attacked the Liberty, Rael responded, scooping another bite of eggs onto his bread. You know, the ship that took Hanzo and Ren to the academy had some chunks ripped from it. I bet they ran into the same monster, Arrow replied. Who is Hanzo and Ren? Rael asked. Nobody special, Arrow said, dismissing the looks of jealousy on Rael and Ava's faces. He tried to return to the previous topic. Well, whatever that monster is, it's capable of ripping through GA cruisers like cardboard. Yes, and if the Liberty was able to make it here after sustaining such damage, Rael said, I would surmise the monster isn't too far behind. Arrow and Ava looked up at Rael with looks of intrigue and dread as they contemplated the mental state of their friend. What is wrong? Rael cluelessly asked. Through the awkward silence, Ava slipped back into her darkened state while Arrow silently returned to his breakfast. Where is she? Where is my miracle worker? Nurse Kisa praised, slithering from her office into the dining hall. Ah, there she is. Nurse Kisa fumbled her words upon noticing Ava's darkened mood. Ava, could you follow me into my office? I need to show you something, she said with a smile. Not interested in her breakfast, Ava followed Nurse Kisa. Before their return, Arrow and Rael were recruited by Till to clean up the wreckage. Using magnetic cables, the drones were responsible for maneuvering the larger sections of debris. It only took half the day to collect everything. Once done, Arrow and Rael were sent into town to assist with anything they could. When lunch was ready, they bumped into Ava back at the refugee center. Arrow immediately noticed she had returned to her undefeatable state of being. He became lost in thought, watching his friend tend to those in need. He knew the plan was to join the Galactic Alliance, something he had dreamed about ever since discovering its existence. As Ava redressed the bandages of the same burn victim, doubt infected Arrow's mind. By the time the work had been done, night had fallen. Their bodies ached, but their minds still raced. Everyone else in town who shared in the confused, sleepless affliction gathered around a fire pit outside the refugee center. Sitting amongst the crowd, Arrow, Rael, and Ava watched as the adults settled things. What do you think happened to them? Kisa asked Till. Till looked from her to the small crowd. Raising a hand, he attempted to quiet them before answering. The Liberty, settle. The Liberty is the lead ship of the 77th Battalion. The 77th? I've heard of them, Grant interrupted. Those gruesome warriors, I've heard they're just as evil as the Shadow themselves. Aren't they supposed to be some of the toughest the GA has to offer? Someone in the crowd said. Who are they? Arrow asked. I remember when the infamy of the 77th Infantry Battalion began, Liaison Till said, turning his gaze towards the heart of the fire. They started out as any standard infantry battalion, but after many battles they were known as the toughest, unyielding fighters the GA had to offer. No special powers, not even special weapons, just those willing to sacrifice themselves to the defeat of evil. Well, whoever they are, Grant said, they are also the first ship to crash into X-12 since the original settlers. I say, Liaison, are we supposed to believe that the Shadow possess a monster large enough to take down galactic cruisers? We don't exactly know what happened, Till responded. It could be several things that attacked the ship. Remember, the Shadow possesses many monsters, and their size does not always dictate strength. Just because it is large does not make it the most dangerous. How long until it makes its way to us? Someone shouted. What about the Major? Does he have any answers? Major Lessie is still unconscious, Till answered. And the truth is, we have no idea what's going on out there. The looks on everyone's face saddened at the reality. In response, Grant geared up for another impromptu speech. When I was a young Tusk, in times like these, we would simply... As the headmaster continued his rant, Till maneuvered himself around the edge of the circle until he was directly behind Arrow, Rael, and Ava. Kisa secretly followed. Look, Arrow, Till softly said, I understand that you three have been taking your training seriously, but considering everything that's happened, I want you to spend more time at the refugee center. We can train more at the station if you'd like. Till hesitated for a moment, seemingly choosing his next words with care. I have a feeling this isn't the last strange situation to occur. Arrow looked towards the fire, unsure of how to respond. I'm willing to help as well, with the training, Nurse Kisa added. Arrow noticed he and Rael were unfazed by her offer, but Ava was more than intrigued. It was some time before Arrow finally spoke. You really think something's going on out there? He questioned, looking up at the stars. I sadly have no evidence, but I can feel it in my scales, Till replied. Looking to his friends, Arrow could see a shared look of agreement. Turning with a big smile, he accepted the liaison's offer. Returning his focus to his friends, Arrow had only one question on his mind. Have I earned my boots yet? Not yet, Rael said with a laugh.